The Colony Club, an elegant members-only facility that had hosted 6 presidents in its 103-year history, shut down in May. Declining membership and changing tastes led to its demise. I spoke with reporter Jim Kinney of Mass Live and The Republican about the club's history and where it might go from here.
Prominent business people wanted a place to gather that was discreet into themselves. And there were a number of these that were done in cities all over the country.
So it was sort of very much in fashion, a century ago.
Yeah, the Gentleman's Club. I mean, if you've seen movies, Trading Spaces, all this sort of thing.
Right. Give people that sense of what it would have been like then.
In those days, it was in this grand Victorian mansion on Maple Street that had been the home of Wesson, of Smith & Wesson fame. Over its history, the club hosted 6 U.S. presidents, and all at that Maple Street site, including both Roosevelts on the same night.
And it was interesting to look at the list of those presidents, because it seemed like they weren't exactly sitting presidents when they came to visit, but they would go on to become president. But certainly they held, prominent place in U.S. history even before they became presidents.
Teddy had been the president, and his nephew, cousin, Franklin, was on his way up.
Yeah, and I think one of them just noted from Oyster Bay.
Yeah, it was Theodore. Yeah.
But then in 1966, that location burned. Mm-hmm. What were the circumstances of that?
It was a spectacular fire. It was in winter, so there's all these great pictures of the huge icicles forming at what was a pretty prominent landmark in town.
And then that rendered the property useless, but they continued their history, right?
There was a bit of a gap, but by that time, Mass Mutual was on its way toward planning what today we call Tower Square, in those days Bay State West. So when that complex was completed, there was space built for the Colony Club in what we call Tower Square today.
And the interior of it was similarly opulent to the 1966 location.
Yeah, it was sort of like the Magic Garden. You would go up to an elevator in the mall of Tower Square, go in, and there'd be the button that says Colony Club, and someone would press it for you, and you'd ride up, and the doors would open, and staff members would be there to greet members by name, and suddenly you're in Downton Abbey.
So it remained highly exclusive. It was expensive, too, to be a member of, which was part of the reason that it closed, right?
Yeah, the expense and also fashions having changed. Business people not taking those 2-hour lunches, which was a big part of their business. And they had an older clientele, and they didn't appeal to a younger set.
And in terms of the exclusivity piece, is it correct that women weren't initially allowed?
That had been a big issue. I'm not sure when that had changed. I think in the 80s. And as time went on, that changed. And they had women on the board and as club president toward the end.
I've talked to some other people who weren't members of the club because they felt like they weren't exactly included, whether it was because they were Jewish or Italian, so it remained rather exclusive for a certain while, and then as it changed in more recent years.
Yeah, that was the feeling that I got, that over the years. 3 years ago, they came to me and pitched a newspaper story about the club. In it, they talked about looking for new members and younger members, and they wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have had to have done that years earlier.
When they reached out to you, that coincided with the 100th anniversary of the club, because at that point they were really sort of actively pitching for members.
Yes, as best they could.
So when did you become aware that they were going to have to close?
A couple of weeks ago, I started hearing from people who had booked events and had been called and told, we're closing. You're not going to be able to have your event here. They wanted to be able to go out with some dignity and pay off their bills and not have to go bankrupt, really.
But in terms of the membership that they did have, talk about the pricing structure and what was required of its membership.
It was a few $100s a month, and then there were minimums for the food and drinks.
So you're talking about over $3,000 a year.
Something like that, yeah.
To be a member of the club.
And of course, in its heyday, a business person would just put that on the expense account.
Did you get a sense in your reporting that it was something that families would do or families would pass down, like great-great-grandpa was a member?
Yeah, that was something I'd heard a lot. And they would have events on weekends and evenings that were more family-oriented and not the business person's lunch. But of course, that fell out of fashion, and we're seeing that a number of golf courses around the area that had been that private country club model have sold out and are now public clubs.
Yeah, and even the nature of younger professionals' business networking has changed quite a bit. I even saw in some of the Mass Live comments that people said it was either out of their price range or some other reasons didn't fit.
It occurred to me that I did the story of the end of the Colony Club around the same time I did the story that, hey, there's a Starbucks opening in Monarch Place. And I went to do that story, and all these business people were in there.
And that's a social space in a different way.
Inaccessible and less time. Who takes an hour and a half out of the office for lunch anymore?
Yeah. So now what's next? The space has officially closed. But what's next for the space?
Well, it's happening at the same time that new ownership has come in. Dinesh Patel and Vidmata and their partners have bought both the hotel and the Tower Square Mall from MassMutual.
So certainly they might reuse the space moving forward.
Yeah, they were thinking restaurant or club, but there's no storefront. Like I said, you have to go in the elevator and up.
So it remains to be seen. Well, Jim Kinney, I appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you.